Hello there. The UK will bung a few more million quid across the English Channel every year, and I doubt it will change a thing. Now, if you haven't already done so, please do subscribe and then like and comment below. And Richard has a bit of a go at Jeremy Hunt's upcoming autumn statement at the end, so do stick around. So we've signed another of these so-called historic deals with the French, so we can see an extra 40% of French police patrolling their English Channel beaches and allow UK personnel into their HQs. But even the Prime Minister, Rishi Sunak, can't promise it will reduce the numbers coming across the Channel. While today we hear of one boat that made it onto an English beach, whereupon the 10 predominantly male doctors and nurses occupying it instantly scarpered before the authorities could get there. They were obviously just so keen to go to the nearest hospital to help out that they forgot to register first. Or maybe they forgot to wait to claim asylum. Either way, it was not our benefit system or legitimate work they were seeking. They more likely had the intention to slip into the UK shadow economy. And that, like the benefit system, is one thing in this whole people trafficking chain that the government can address. Suella, Braverman, the Home Office, the police, the courts and local authorities can do something about the shadow economy if they had the stomach for it. And as I've said before, the shadow economy is worth some 10% of our GDP and is untaxed. And I can't believe that the authorities don't know who's involved and how and where they operate. Cutting into that illicit trade from dodgy goods to hard drugs would take away the lucrative cash-in-hand jobs that many of these new arrivals are looking for. But a lot of UK customers at the poorer end of the scale would not like to see their supply of cheap knockoff cigarettes and booze dry up. Not to mention the harder stuff that the middle classes seem to enjoy up their nostrils. Now, many claim that this massive proliferation in the number of new but almost customerless establishments, like certain brands of barbers in every high street in every town, is there to service money laundering. The question being, have we just outsourced the running of nefarious activities to others who will channel the money abroad? If that is the case, then given the number of these high street outfits, there must be a fortune to launder every single day. And that will be money that Brits are spending on all sorts of unlawful goods, services and activities, including people smuggling. From what I can gather, it's a huge problem, now fast growing, and will require political steel to deal with it. And maybe that's why it's tolerated by our wobbly government. But the other thing that will do a massive amount to deal with this problem is when the European Union member states get around to monitoring their Schengen border. But they won't do that until their citizens start realising they have a problem and demand real action. At least Italy has started that ball rolling by pushing boats back. But then the French caved in and took them instead. And now a bit of Brexit. There have been recent reports that the construction sector is being hit by a shortage of bricks, a scarcity of raw materials and high energy costs, leading to construction companies failing to bid for state contracts. 1,500 of them because they don't pay enough. And anyway, there's also a shortage of construction workers, with government plans to recruit thousands from other countries. Ah, but this is not the UK. This is happening in the country of Spain, which is obviously within the EU. Don't let the Ramonas get away with telling you all these problems are just in the UK and just down to Brexit, because they're not. So Rishi Sunak and Jeremy Hunt are carefully laying out the groundwork to finish off the UK economy with tax hikes and spending cuts. But they have got one thing right. They heeded the Truss Kwarteng warning very diligently. Liz Truss and Kwasi Kwarteng hit the ground running with a growth package and fell flat on their faces at the first hurdle, the hurdle of communication. But Sunak and Hunt have taken that one in and have made sure that all the potential bad news has been telegraphed well in advance of the actual statement later this week. One imagines they are hoping that by the time Jeremy Hunt gets to his feet, most of the initial anger and dismay will have been converted into mere resignation to the inevitable. And there will be no surprises for anyone who's been watching the news. After all, to get through the Build Back Better stage into the Great Reset, where we, the proles, will own nothing but be happy, we first have to get through the stage of the proles will have no money and be very unhappy. But by the time Jeremy Hunt gives his weird grin and starts dropping his tax bombs on us, I think that the political classes and the mainstream press will be very happy at how well they've managed our expectations. After all, they have a lot of psychologist types working in the background, nudging this way and that way with their drip, drip, drip of leaked tax proposals. So it's bad news for the ordinary taxpayer, bad news for small businesses, bad news for council taxpayers as local authorities grasp as much as they can, and bad news for both pension savers and pensioners alike. And Rishi Sunak says that the UK economy must meet the expectations of international markets, and that we'll all suffer if taxes don't go up. Fancy talk for the fact that we've saddled ourselves with so much debt that the markets, that is to say cigar-chomping, champagne-swilling fat cats, can call the political shots. We really do need a big national debate on stifling the spendthrift urges of politicians, because none of that overspending is about spending to invest for the future. No, it's all about Prime Ministers' legacies and short-term vote buying. Anyway, now it's over to Richard for his statement on Jeremy Hunt's autumn statement.
Thank you, Jeff, and good evening. 5 foot and a foot, Rishi Sunak is on a mission to balance the nation's books that he helped unbalance in the first place by doing his part in shutting down the British economy and paying people to go on holidays in their own living rooms. Yes, this week the richest man in Parliament, our Prime Minister, will hide behind his Chancellor, who will tell us all how much poorer we will become because of his desire to appease the markets, which will then make everything all hunky-dory. The logic here is simple. Big business and investors must maintain their high profit margins at the cost of the small businesses and workers. Look, these men are utterly disconnected from the highly impactful decisions they make. It's just pathetic. I mean, Sunak. Really? Who is this man? Nobody wants him in government, let alone as Prime Minister. And the same goes for Jeremy Hunt. Nobody wants them, except for the metropolitan elite and WEF that put them there, to be puppets for them. Yes, Rishi Sunak, who is in a perpetual state of standing on tiptoes, the bugger must have calves of steel, and married to a woman who will inherit billions, has the audacity to proudly usher in a period of struggle for the average person, a struggle that he played a huge part in creating as the former Chancellor in the first place, and a struggle that he will never feel the weight of. Your children will go without, but his won't. Your family will choose between heating and eating, his won't. But it's okay. You can sit your children down and reassure them that their sacrifices and hardships are there to make sure the markets are happy. That will work well on Christmas Day as your little ones open their presents to find a lump of coal wrapped in toilet roll, if they're lucky. You can just hear Rishi Sunak's downbeaten address to Parliament after the ever-popular Jeremy Hunt begins to read out the death sentence for small businesses that is commonly known as the autumn budget. How have we come to this? As much as I detest the slime that sprawls across the opposition benches in the form of the Labour Party, I would love to see them sweep into power with a massive, unprecedented majority, just to see the look on the faces of the Tory MPs as they are kicked out of their seats. Okay, I don't really mean that, because a Labour government is a terrifying prospect. But I think that's how a lot of people will feel when it comes to voting in the next general election. Unless, of course, Reform, or whatever party Richard Tice and Nigel Farage stand under, are ready to take on the whole establishment. The people want change, but Labour are looking more dangerous than ever, both ideologically and in the polls. Ah, the ambitions and plans of men. Anyway, back over to you, Jeff.
And thank you very much for that, Richard. And finally, when subscribing, please don't forget to press that little bell and also select the all option, or you won't get any notifications when I publish a new video. And thank you all so much for taking the time to watch the show.